Colonel Potter, sir, my last wish is to be buried in my mother's wedding gown.
I've seen these Dodgers for 40 years, all the tricks. Dismissed!
Wow. Can you believe the drama behind one of the greatest TV shows ever? MASH wasn't just a funny show about doctors in a war. It was a roller coaster of emotions, both on-screen and off. For 11 years, it made us laugh, cry, and feel like we were part of the 4077th family. But behind the scenes, things weren't always as happy as they seemed. Before she passed away, Loretta Swit, who played the amazing Major Margaret Hot Lips Houlihan, finally shared the real reasons why so many of her co-stars left the show. Her words pulled back the curtain on the struggles, frustrations, and dreams that changed MASH forever. Let's dive into this incredible story, from the show's groundbreaking start to the heartbreak of cast members walking away. MASH was a show like no other. It hit TV screens on September 17, 1972, and ran until February 28, 1983, on CBS. It wasn't just a comedy about doctors and nurses during the Korean War. It mixed humor with the pain of war in a way that felt so real. Based on a 1970 movie and a 1968 book by Richard Hooker, MASH followed the lives of a mobile Army surgical hospital team in Uijeongbu, South Korea. These doctors and nurses worked hard to save soldiers' lives while dealing with their own fears, sadness, and even silly moments. One minute, you'd be laughing at a prank. The next, you'd be crying over a soldier's story. That's what made MASH so special. It showed what it means to be human. The original cast was full of unforgettable characters. Alan Alda played Hawkeye Pierce, a clever surgeon with a quick wit. Wayne Rogers was Trapper John, his charming best friend. Loretta Swit brought heart to Major Margaret Houlihan, a tough but caring nurse. Larry Linville played the uptight Frank Burns, and McLean Stevenson was the kind Colonel Henry Blake. Gary Berghoff was Radar O'Reilly, the sweet and quirky clerk, while Jamie Farr played Klinger, who wore Dr. S's to try to get out of the Army. William Christopher was the gentle Father Mulcahy, the chaplain. Over time, the cast changed. When Wayne Rogers left, Mike Farrell joined as B.J. Honeycutt. After McLean Stevenson left, Harry Morgan became Colonel Sherman Potter. When Larry Linville exited, David Ogden Stiers stepped in as the fancy Charles Winchester. And when Radar left, Klinger took over as clerk. Even with all these changes, MASH stayed strong, thanks to its heart and stories inspired by real Korean War doctors. Alan Alda even wrote and directed some episodes, making the show feel personal. The final episode, Goodbye, Farewell, and Amen, aired in 1983 and became the most-watched TV episode in U.S. history for years. MASH wasn't just a show, it was a piece of people's lives. Now, let's talk about Loretta Swit, the woman who made Hot Lips Houlihan unforgettable. Born on November 4, 1937, in Passaic, New Jersey, Loretta grew up in a Polish-American family. Her parents, Lester and Nellie, worked hard to raise Loretta and her older brother, Robert. As a kid, Loretta was full of energy. She joined the Girl Scouts, went to church, and loved performing. At Pope Pius XII High School, she was a cheerleader, acted in plays, and even co-captained the girls' basketball team. After graduating in 1955, she went to the Catherine Gibbs School in Montclair, where she learned office skills. She worked as a secretary for a socialite, and even at the United Nations, but her heart was somewhere else. Secretly, she took dance and acting classes in New York, dreaming of being on stage. She studied with a coach named Gene Frankel and trained at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. Her big break came in theater, starting with small roles off-Broadway in the 1960s. She toured in plays, worked with stars like Don Rickles, and starred in shows like Same Time, Next Year on Broadway in 1975. By 1969, she moved to Hollywood, landing guest roles on shows like Hawaii Five-0 and Mission Impossible. But her life changed forever when she joined MASH. On MASH, Loretta Swit became Major Margaret Houlihan, a character who started as a strict, patriotic nurse. At first, Margaret was tough and only close to Frank Burns, her secret love, played by Larry Linville. Their relationship was messy and often funny, but not exactly healthy. As the show went on, Margaret grew. She got married to a lieutenant colonel, but the marriage didn't last. Slowly, she became kinder, forming real friendships with the doctors and nurses and showing care for the Korean people around the camp. This change mirrored how MASH itself evolved from a silly comedy to a deeper mix of humor and emotion. Loretta stayed with MASH for all 11 seasons, appearing in all but 11 of the 256 episodes. She was one of only 4 actors, along with Alan Alda, Jamie Farr, and William Christopher, to stick with the show from start to finish. She won 2 Emmy Awards for her powerful performance. and fans loved episodes like Hot Lips and Empty Arms and The Nurses, which showed Margaret's softer side. Off-screen, Loretta built strong bonds with her co-stars, especially Harry Morgan, who played Colonel Potter. They were neighbors until his death in 2011. She also stayed close to Alan Alda and his family, showing how much the MASH cast meant to her. But things weren't always easy behind the scenes. MASH was a hit, but there were tensions, arguments, and struggles that fans didn't see. Alan Alda, as Hawkeye, became the show's heart. He didn't just act, he wrote, directed, and even helped produce the show. This gave MASH deeper stories about war, loss, and humanity, but it also caused problems. Some actors felt the show was becoming too focused on Hawkeye, leaving less room for their characters. Wayne Rogers and McLean Stevenson Lee was FT because they felt pushed aside. Writers and actors sometimes clashed over scripts or the show's direction. One writer, Ken Levine, once shared a funny story about making an episode in freezing cold weather just to keep the cast too cold to argue. Loretta often played peacemaker, trying to keep the cast together. She later admitted that the set wasn't always a happy place, and keeping things calm took a lot of work. Let's look at why some of the big stars left. McLean Stevenson, who played Colonel Henry Blake, left in 1975, and it shocked fans. Henry was a lovable, down-to-earth leader, but McLean wanted more. He felt stuck playing one character and wanted to grow as an actor. In interviews, he later said he thought fans loved him, but they really loved Henry Blake. Loretta said McLean felt sidelined and unappreciated in the ensemble cast. His exit was dramatic. Henry's character died in a plane crash in the episode Abyssinia Henry, leaving viewers heartbroken. McLean hoped to return for guest spots, but the show moved on. He later regretted leaving, realizing his connection with fans was through Henry, not himself. His departure showed how hard it was for actors to separate themselves from their characters. Wayne Rogers, who played Trapper John, also left in 1975 after 3 seasons. When he joined MASH, he thought Trapper would be just as important as Hawkeye. But as the show grew, Alan Alda's character took the spotlight. Wayne felt his role was shrinking, and he was tired of being in Hawkeye's shadow. He also had a contract dispute, wanting more creative control and fair pay. In the end, he walked away, believing Trapper was becoming a sidekick instead of a lead. After leaving, Wayne starred in his own sitcom and built a successful career outside acting. He and Alan stayed friends, and Alan even spoke at Wayne's funeral, showing their split was professional, not personal. Larry Linville, who played Frank Burns, left after 5 seasons because he felt Frank couldn't grow. Frank was a selfish, annoying character who clashed with Hawkeye and Trapper. Larry was okay with that at first, but he got tired of playing a one-dimensional villain. He wanted roles with more depth and didn't want to be known only as Frank Burns. When his contract ended, he chose not to stay, even though the producers wanted him to. After leaving, he worked on shows like The Rockford Files, proving he was more than just Frank. His co-stars respected his choice, and his exit let the show bring in Charles Winchester, a more complex character. Gary Berghoff, who played Radar, left in 1979 after 7 seasons. Playing a young, naive clerk was tough as Gary got older. He was almost 40 by then. He was exhausted from the show's demanding schedule and wanted to spend time with his family. There were also tensions on set. Some co-stars like Alan Alda and Wayne Rogers had arguments with Gary, and not everyone got along with him. Despite Radar being a fan favorite, Gary's off-screen attitude sometimes caused friction. His final episode, Goodbye, Radar, was emotional, showing both Radar's sweetness and Gary's relief to leave. He later said family was his priority, and leaving was about finding balance. Alan Alda's growing role was a big factor in these departures. As Hawkeye, he was the star, but his work as a writer, director, and producer made the show more about his character. This gave MASH deeper stories, but it frustrated some actors who felt their roles were shrinking. Loretta and Alan were close, and she praised his talent, but others felt the show lost its team spirit. It became less about the group and more about Hawkeye's journey. This shift helped MASH win awards and fans, but it made some cast members feel left out. Before her death on May 30th, 2025, at age 87, Loretta Swit shared the truth about these exits. She said MASH was tough for her as one of the few women in a male-dominated cast. Early on, Margaret was a shallow character, chasing Frank Burns and clashing with others. Loretta fought to make her deeper and more human, working with producers to show Margaret's strength and heart. She understood why her co-stars left. Wayne felt underused, McLean wanted bigger roles, Larry needed more depth, and Gary was burned out. Loretta stayed, but it wasn't easy. She sometimes felt ignored in scripts and even missed a chance to star in Cagney Lacey because MASH producers wouldn't let her go. Still, she loved the show and her castmates, staying loyal to the end. Loretta's life was about more than MASH. She was passionate about animals, becoming a vegetarian and later a vegan in 1981. She spoke out against animal cruelty and supported causes to protect them. She also loved needlepoint, even writing a book called A Needlepoint Scrapbook. In 1983, she married actor Dennis Holohan, who appeared in a MASH episode, but they divorced in 1995. Loretta's creativity and kindness shone through her work and activism. When she passed away in her New York City home, she left behind a legacy of talent, courage, and compassion. MASH wasn't just a TV show, it was a mirror of life, showing how people laugh, cry, and grow through tough times. Loretta Swit was its heart, staying through every change and challenge. The departures of her co-stars weren't just about egos or money, they were about people searching for their own paths. Each exit added to the show's realness, reminding us that even in a close-knit group, change is part of life. Loretta's honesty about these struggles shows how much MASH meant to everyone involved. It was a show about war, but also about love, friendship, and moving forward. Thanks for joining me on this journey through MASH's incredible story. Loretta Swit's words and the choices of her co-stars remind us that even the best shows have their struggles. If you loved hearing about this classic TV tale, please give this video a big thumbs up, share it with your friends who love MASH, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more stories from TV history. Turn on the bell so you never miss a video. Let's keep the MASH spirit alive. See you in the next one.